All right, welcome. So, how to deal with urges on semen retention. So, this video is all about the urges that come up as you start to practice semen retention and how you can actually overcome them. So, the urges are a pretty common thing, one of the first things you'll actually notice, and they come and they go is part of what you'll learn as you get onto this journey. They are not the end of the world. And the reason it feels like this is because you're used to, whenever you get that urge, as it builds up, the only option or the only outlet you have for all of that energy is to then give in to some form of sexual indulgence, whatever that is for you, right? So instead of giving into sexual indulgence, when we feel these urges and we allow that energy to circulate through our bodies, rise up the spine and back to the brain, we become supercharged with this sexual energy, but also we learn to master the ebbs and flows of our sexual energy. As it rises, as it becomes active, how do we manage that? How do we control that until it then subsides again, right? And how do we, while it's subsiding, how do we keep ourselves straight, clear, and focused so that when it does rise back up, when it does become active again, we aren't in a place where this energy is being driven towards something negative and rather something positive. All right, so if you guys are interested in changing your lives, transforming your lives through self-improvement, go ahead and check out my self-improvement coaching in the description below. That first link will be a call for us to talk and discuss whether you're a good fit for the coaching program. And the second link is my Instagram. If you would rather DM me on Instagram, you can do that as well. So how I went from fearing the urges to actually loving them, right? So nowadays, whenever I get an urge, it's actually more of a gift to me than anything else. It's an enjoyable feeling because it allows me to feel more vital. It increases my vitality. It allows me to feel more whole, more healthy. And it's just an energy boost to me at this point. And so anytime I get an urge, that to me is a benefit because, okay, now whatever the next thing I have to do, I'm going to be supercharged to do it as long as you practice the right things in between, right? So if you aren't utilizing the right techniques, this urge can then be a detriment. But if you are utilizing the right techniques, it can become an energy boost or an energy boost or just a nice feeling, right? It can just be a nice feeling, right? You can feel the pleasure associated with that energy just by allowing it to flow through you instead of indulging it, right? So when I first started semen retention, I originally started back in 2022-ish, I think. Oh, let's see. No, it was, it was 2022. It was early 2022 when I first heard about it and started trying to do it. And that year was pretty difficult, but then I cut out porn completely. And for that whole summer, it was just a battle back and forth between my own internal feelings, my own urges on the inside, and the world around me, right? Actually just living in the world, actually just being in the world and facing certain struggles that I had never had to face without a coping mechanism, right? Being able to go to the gym and work out and be training and focused and working on myself, but also being able to take all of the energy that was building up, because when you are on self-improvement, when you are working on yourself, you're building up more energy. And so sexual urges, for example, are more intense because you're building up more of yourself, you're building up more of your own energy. And so things like this become more intense. So I was doing all of these things while trying to quit masturbation, while trying to quit release and be on semen retention. And I had cut out porn, which made this whole process easier. But then it just became a back and forth battle internally, right? Until this last year. Yes, about this last year was when I finally figured it out. And what I started to do was, instead of trying to push the urge down, instead of trying to not feel the urge, instead of trying to not allow myself to become distracted by it, what I would do is I'd actually allow it to be felt. I'd allow it to be fully circulated through my body, right? Instead of holding it in the mind, I allowed it to circulate. I allowed it to flow. And the other key to this is you can't be thinking. If you're thinking sexual thoughts, then you're going to continue to ruminate on lust. You have to remove the thinking part and just feel the energy by itself. But when you do this, it actually becomes a process of supercharging your energy, right? You become much more powerful, much more potent because you're taking in this energy and you're transmuting it instead of trying to stuff it down, instead of trying to push it down. Because then when you stuff it down, that leads you to then give in at some point later in the future, right? A lot of people who are on NoFap are really just repressing their sexual energy because all they're doing is avoiding fapping with it, avoiding masturbation. But as soon as they actually get with a woman, they go right in, they go all in, and they indulge it fully. And therefore, they've completely undone what they've been training for or practicing by doing NoFap, right? So by repressing the energy, we just leave it for a later date, right? So we end up building it up, and it builds up as lust, right? We end up building up more and more of this lust because we're stuffing it down, because we're pushing it down. We're essentially pressurizing it, and that forces it to return with the same amount of force, with the same amount of pressure. And then that return on the force, that return on pressure is what then gets us to give in, right? And so we can force against it all we want, but that will never actually work. By flowing with it, by moving with it, by taking all that energy from the urge and putting it into something, we actually supercharge ourselves for whatever future endeavors we have. So if you're working on a business, or if you're going to the gym, right? If you're training for a sport, if you're trying to learn a new skill, then whatever it is that you're doing, you will be supercharged for this next thing by taking on this energy, by allowing yourself to feel it fully instead of trying to repress it, right? Because trying to repress this energy is what causes lust, is what causes this mental torment, right? It's what causes the back and forth battle in your mind. And so by fully embracing the urge, by fully taking it on, it actually becomes a superpower. It becomes a gift, right? Because now, whenever I feel that sexual urge, it's not a desire for lust. It instantly becomes a desire for work. It instantly becomes a desire for training or learning or just doing something, right? I just want to be active. I just want to be putting forth effort into something. I want to create something, right? So because I've transmuted my mind in the state of my mind, this energy flows in a different way naturally, right? But the process of getting to this state is by facing these urges and overcoming these urges, right? Facing these urges and feeling them fully and allowing this energy to be properly transmuted, right? So understanding sexual desire, right? So we will quickly just talk about what sexual desire truly is, because if you can change your perspective on what sexual desire is, then you can actually change the way that you go about actually experiencing it, or the way that you orientate yourself when you do feel it, right? So this is truly, properly a desire for evolution or reproduction, right? And so let me explain a bit. So this is the deep desire for the recreation of ourselves, right? The building upon ourselves, the achievement of our purpose. And our highest purpose is truly to become evolved beings, to become evolved humans, right? To reach the next level, the next stage of our growth and evolution, in order to closer represent our highest expression, right? Closer be able to integrate our soul and our highest being, or you could say God if you'd like. But this desire for evolution is what the sexual desire is. The sexual desire is our desire to evolve, to grow, to become better. The reason you have a desire for women in the first place is to become better, is to become an evolved human being, is to become Elohim. When man and woman, when masculine and feminine are united, this creates a state similar to that of a god. Even any normal lower vibrational human being, when they are in the sexual state, they have the creative power of a god. And so this desire for sex has nothing to do with pleasure. This desire for sex has nothing to do with lust. This desire for sex is solely there for the purpose of evolution, and the other purpose is for reproduction. The secondary purpose to evolution is reproduction. Why? Because when we are at a stage where we can no longer continue to grow, when we can no longer push forward to that next level, then we reproduce ourselves, we recreate ourselves with the intention that this new version of us, this new genetically identical version of us, right, will go out and do the thing that we couldn't. And obviously you have no control over your kids. You can't go and make them do something that you couldn't. And so it's not even truly guaranteed. But the continuation of the species is there for sake of our own inability to become that highest expression, that highest being, evolve to that next state. And so we pass that burden on to the next generation. So instead of reproduction, or instead of indulgence into pleasure, we can take this power and use it as the creative force that it truly is, right? So the creative power hidden in sex. Sexuality itself is creativity, right? It is creation. You can think of making a baby, right? It is purely an act of creation, right? It is an act of engagement between the masculine and feminine, interplay between the masculine and feminine forces, and this creates a completely new force. This creates a completely new being if it was going to be a child. It creates a completely new state of energy if it was not going to be a child, if you were to be doing something more like sexual alchemy or sexual magic, right? It creates a new state of energy, and it can create new realities too, right? And so this creative power has been hidden, and this creative power has been purposefully taken from us so that we would be limited in our ability to escape the trap that we find ourselves in, which is self-imposed, right? This rat race is a self-imposed state of being, right? Nobody can actually control you, right? They can only control you by convincing you to control yourself in a certain way. They can only control you by convincing you to act a certain specific way, right? To be a certain specific way, right? So if you can't be properly controlled, what's the next way to do it? And that is to take away your ability to change and then solidify a reality into your mind, an identity into your mind that is in accordance with whatever they want you to do, whoever they are, and for whatever purpose they want to control you for, right? So you have been sapped of your sexual vitality by society's programming, by the porn companies, by the women, the OnlyFans girls, right? By women themselves who just want to take from you, who want to take your energy, who want to take your light, right? These lower beings, right? And I'm not just talking about women, I mean these lower beings who view the world as something they need to control. These lower beings want to take from you your ability to control yourself. They want to take from you your ability to rise above the situation that you currently find yourself in. They want to take away your ability to create something that can compete with what they've created, right? And so the best way to do that is to sexually handicap you, right? And the way that they do that is by making orgasm, making lust, making casual sex a thing that is considered normal, a thing that is considered even healthy in some cases, right? Neither of which is the case. Not in casual sex, not in masturbation. This is never a healthy thing, right? This is never a thing that is positive for us. This is never a thing that is good for us, right? And so they've taken away your sexual vitality by convincing you that it's normal to lose it, right? By convincing you that it's just natural to lose it. Instead of presenting you with the other option, the other alternative, which actually feels natural, which actually feels proper, which when you hear about it for the first time, it's almost like a shock of sorts. It's an ego shock because you've never even thought of or considered the other side of what you could be doing with this energy. But as soon as you can see it, you can't unsee it, right? Once you have become aware of the proper use of this energy, you can't unsee it because it's so blatantly obvious that this is what this energy is used for, that this is what this energy is properly utilized for and what it actually is. And it's hard to forget. You can't just leave that behind, right? You can't just forget about that. So when you do see it, when you do understand the other side of it, now it's a mission of, okay, now I have to defeat the ego within me, the force within me that is continuing to keep me stuck in this loop. Right? And so lust itself is not the natural feeling of sex. Lust itself is not the natural feeling of sex, right? Sexual desire, sexual energy, and sex itself has nothing to do with lust. Lust is uncontrollable desire for something. Lust is needing more and more and more of something. In fact, in proper sexual alchemy, you kill this desire for lust. You kill this need for more. You kill this desire as a whole, right? You're killing desire and replacing it with virtue, right? You're killing desire and replacing it with love, right? And this is a continuous process, right? This is a constant back and forth battle, right? You will feel this lust, but you have to win over it by transmuting that energy back into its pure state, which is of sexual energy, pure sexual energy, right? And so pure sexual energy is this creative energy. It's this creative force, right? It is the force that drives us to achieving the next level, that drives us to achieving our greatest expression of ourselves, right? That even drives us to love deeply both another person and ourselves, right? And this relates back to creativity and evolution, because the ability to love is the highest expression, is that highest energy, is that highest state of consciousness, right? And so it's very important to be able to learn how to properly love. And you cannot properly love if you are consumed by lust. So you have to be willing to kill this lust and kill the egos that support it in order to evolve, in order to reach that next level. So harnessing this power instead of wasting it is the next section. So I'll be teaching you guys exactly how to harness the power of this energy instead of letting it continuously go to waste. So sexual transmutation is the key. You need to learn about what transmutation is. You need to learn how to do it. This is essentially the key, and I'm going to teach to you guys, but I would highly recommend going and doing your research on what what sexual transmutation truly is, and then go ahead and apply that information. But I will go over step by step how you can actually go and do this, right? So sexual transmutation is the ability, is the skill of taking the sexual energy, taking the sexual urge, the sexual desire, and transmuting it, transforming it back into its highest expression, right? So the sexual energy isn't necessarily meant to be expressed physically. It's not necessarily meant to be expressed by expelling it outwards, right? It's actually meant to be expressed through you actually being yourself, right? Through you actually doing the work that is truly representative of you and who you'd like to become and the goals that you have, right? Actually being this highest version of you, right? Instead of thinking about all the things that you'd like to do, actually going and doing them, actually living them, experiencing them. This is the sexual energy's highest expression. The reason that you have to fantasize about the life you want is because you've wasted the necessary sexual vitality to go and achieve it, right? If you had this potency built up inside of you, you couldn't help but go and actually act towards that vision. You can't envision something without physically acting towards it, right? It pains you to sit there and think about something you don't have or can't have, right? You need to go and act towards it. And even then, you simply won't sit there and just think about it, right? If you think about it, it will continue to manifest. You will literally put yourself into a situation, into an experience where you can begin to manifest it just by keeping that vision in your mind, right? Just by keeping your focus there. So this energy's highest expression is to actually make you the person that you were meant to be. And so we need to learn how to transform our lust. Our lust is our desire to go and get things externally, right? But to convert that and transmute that into its highest expression, sexual energy's true expression is the opposite, right? We want to give out our own gifts. We want to output. We want to project our true identity, our true sense of self, our true nature. Right? We want to project that into the world, not take from the world, but actually give back to it, right? By giving our highest expression, by giving ourselves on our fullest level, on our highest level, right? So converting this force, right? The process of actually converting this force. The beginning stage is actually just feeling it. If you cannot feel it fully, if you cannot rest within it, you won't be able to convert it, right? But if you can rest within it, if you can feel it fully, you can feel the denseness and the heaviness of it, right? You can feel this, maybe the agitation of it, right? And all you need to do is use your awareness, sink your awareness into it, and slowly but surely dissolve that energy, right? Slowly and surely break down the tension, right? Slowly and surely relax and release all of that tension by breathing through it, by actively doing breath work for it, and also by simply feeling it move, right? So you have to feel it move. You have to let your awareness sit within it and feel it move. And as you feel it start to move, you can change your thoughts, and you can change the direction of your thoughts to actually reflect your true goals, your true intentions, who you truly like to be, and allow this energy to then change in its resonance to match that frequency, right? So don't push the energy down. Don't try to force the thoughts away, right? But naturally allow it to change and transform into thoughts of your highest expression, thoughts of your biggest goals, right? Thoughts of you achieving them and being that type of person. Allow that conversion of energy to happen. And then the next step is instantly to go and use it. Go and utilize that energy. Go and act upon the thing that you're thinking of. And obviously, like, there were times where I couldn't do this. There were times where, like on the bus, for example, when I was going to BOCES, I'd always get, not always, but sometimes I'd get a sexual urge there just because I was sitting there alone, just thinking about stuff, right? And I would feel that urge, but then I couldn't like go and do something with it immediately. So all I would do with it was breathe through it, fully circulate it, fully allow it to be felt, fully allow it to be transformed and transmuted. And then instead of utilizing it in like my goals, let's say, I would go to BOCES and I would have all my friends there and I'd just go and talk with them and we'd have a great time. We'd go and fucking laugh and shit, joke and shit, and just, have a great time, have a ball. And that was a way that I would use my energy, right? It wasn't necessarily going and working on the big goal that I had, but just going and being social, going and like laughing and chopping it up with all my friends was a good way of converting this energy fully, solidifying this energy into a higher state than if I was to be consumed by lust in that moment. And so the sexual urge is actually a gift, right? So the sexual urge's gift is that energy that it provides for you, right? Because that's all this is energy from the earth, energy from nature, for us to then go and use, right? For us to then go and take and use to build something, to create something, to become someone, right? And so that's its gift. Each sexual urge is an opportunity to transmute and take on some of this sexual energy, right? All of the benefits on semen retention are derived from the amount of sexual energy that you're now holding and containing. But obviously, people on NoFap, for example, are limited in their ability to utilize it because they don't know transmutation. But all of the gifts of semen retention, all the gifts of NoFap are due to the fact that you have an influx of sexual energy. And each urge is an influx of sexual energy. It is the oncoming increase of sexual energy that is providing this opportunity to you. It is providing the opportunity for you to transmute it and take it and use it for something better, right? To use it for something that is actually truly aligned with your highest purpose, that is actually truly going to allow you to become the best possible version of yourself, right? And so each and every urge is this gift. Each and every urge is a possibility or an opportunity for you to grow, to become better, to take this energy and use it, right? It's fuel. It's essentially free fuel, but you have to be willing to allow it to not get trapped within the lower nature and allow it to fully rise through the spine and through the chakra system so that it can actually be expressed on its fullest plane. So how to overcome sexual urges, right? This is the practical part of the video. And this video is about how to deal with urges on SR. So this is going to be all of the practical steps to how you can actually go and deal with urges in the moment. So the first thing is pranayama, right? Pranayama ideally is a long-term strategy. It's not something that in the moment will definitely win, right? That will definitely help you to beat this urge. But if you do it consistently over a long period of time, you will be able to beat the urges easier, and you will also benefit a lot more as you beat them, right? So each urge that you beat, You will get more benefits from each one, more energy from each one if you know transmutation and you're doing consistent pranayama every single day, right? Doing pranayama teaches you sexual transmutation, and so they have to go hand in hand. Pranayama is a daily practice. Sexual transmutation is just the process that happens, right, in order to change the sexual urge into an urge for, or a desire for, your highest expression or the achievement of your goals. So you need to do it long term, but you can also, there are steps to do in the moment if you are feeling the urge right now, right? And there are two types of pranayama. The daily type I would consider would be Hamsa, and you can look these up. But I'll also have an ebook out very soon on how to do all of these practices. So I, of course, will announce that when that's out. But for now, you can just look them up on YouTube and just get like this simple understanding of these practices. But so Hamsa is the one I would do long term. I would do that every single day for about 10 minutes a day. And then you can also do microcosmic orbit breathing is a good one to do in the moment, which is simple. Just inhale and feel the energy rising from the base of your spine up around the top of the head to the roof of the mouth. And while holding the tongue to the roof of the mouth, because that's what connects the two channels, you will then exhale and allow it to fall through the second channel down into the stomach, right, into the upper middle stomach area. This is where your solar plexus is a good way to think about it, but it's also where your middle dantian is, and this is a storage unit, I guess you could say, inside of your body for energy. It is a better storage unit than your lower dantian, which is where it currently is. And when the lower dantian gets too full, that's when you feel the sexual urge, right? And so when you feel that sexual urge, that just means your lower dantian is too full, and you can take this energy and circulate it through the body and store it in the middle dantian instead, which is again a much better storage unit for this type of energy. And it is directly connected to the heart, which is going to circulate this energy throughout the entirety of your body. So that is what you could do in the moment if you're feeling the urge, if you're feeling that desire. Another thing you can do is testicle breathing, which is basically just breathing all the way down into your lower stomach and then eventually into your balls if you can reach them, right? But most people will have a lot of tension somewhere between their chest area and their lower stomach area, and then will also have a lot of tension within the lower stomach and genital region. So it will take time and practice for you to learn how to properly breathe into this area. But basically just deep breathing practices will be what you do. You breathe deeply into trying to breathe into the testicles, and you essentially, on the exhale, you release the energy up into the rest of the body. And this will circulate energy, this will release tension and relax you. And again, it'll allow you to release some of the sexual energy that's built up that's causing the urge. So the next step is meditation. Meditation is another daily practice that you have to do, but it is training your ability to become aware. It is training your consciousness. It is training your ability to observe, right? And then you can utilize this skill in the moment when you're having an urge by simply observing the urge itself, by observing the energy that you feel, by observing your mind in the moment, and by observing yourself and the urge that you feel. By observing yourself and then observing the urges that you feel, you will be able to take them and actually transmute them and transform them into this higher expression, right? And so observation and awareness and being able to hold awareness and learning what to do with an awareness, right? How to dissolve things with an awareness, how to dissolve thoughts, for example. That's the meditative practice. Dissolving thoughts in an urge is the same thing. When you're feeling that lust, you can dissolve the thoughts and you can dissolve the energy itself, right? And by dissolving it, you transmute it into a higher state, and it will then circulate through the rest of your body. So meditation is an essential daily practice, but then you need to follow up by, when you are in the moment and you feel the urge, then you'll have to actually observe that energy, observe that urge, observe the thoughts that come up, and observe yourself in the moment, and take that energy and utilize it for something else. So the next step is regular exercise. Again, both long-term and in the moment, right? You need to be exercising daily in order to even be able to practice semen retention, in my personal opinion. I don't think it's possible to retain without exercise, without moving the body, right? Because this is our basic outlet for energy. This is our main outlet for energy, and without it, we won't be able to handle the levels of energy that we attain. When we retain energy, sexual energy specifically, for a long enough period of time, we return to our natural state as human beings, right? And this means that scrolling on TikTok, this means that sitting in bed all day, laying in bed all day, sitting on the couch all day, this means that working at a desk, right? Sitting at a desk and working all day. This means that these things become almost painful to us. These things become repulsive, or repulsing rather, to us, right? We would never want to sit still and be idle if we were in this state of being, right? We need to be active, we need to be moving, we need to be working, right? And so you can only live in this state of self-indulgence, of laziness, if you are releasing, if you are losing your vitality. Once you have this vitality, you need to be active, you need to be moving, you need to be working, right? And so this means that you need to have a regular exercising routine. So the next step is, when you do feel an urge in the moment, hitting a workout is a really good way to process that energy, is a really good way to process that urge. Although you need to be aware of the fact that it will subside for the period of time you're working out, and then it will return after the fact. And so that's when you need to apply this observation and this breathing technique. And then so the last thing is just feeling it fully, right? So feeling the energy, feeling the urge completely, allowing that energy and allowing that the feeling of sexual desire to actually flow through you, right? Instead of trying to stuff it down and repress it, allow it to be fully felt and flow through your entire body, because that feeling will give it another outlet. It'll give it another way to move, right? Because all it needs is movement. This activity is just a need for movement. This energy needs to move somewhere. And so you have two options. You can move it by expelling it, or you can move it by expressing it, by actually retaining it and bringing it into the body, fully circulating it through the body, and that expression becomes your expression. You become this expression, and so you just living your life, right? You just being you is amplified, but also is the way that you utilize this energy and move this energy through your body, right? Because by moving it through your body and then utilizing it, you will be supercharged, right? Everything you do will be amplified, will be more accurate of your highest expression, or more representative of your highest expression, but is also the means for you to fully transmute this energy, right? By taking it in, by circulating it, by feeling it, and then by expressing it. This is your means of giving it another outlet, as opposed to expressing it sexually by indulging, right? So that is all I have for you guys for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you guys are interested in going and checking out my coaching, and you want to transform your lives with self-improvement, go ahead and click that top link in the description, or the second link if you'd like to DM me on Instagram instead. But aside from that, if you guys are interested in seeing more self-improvement content like this, go ahead and click that subscribe button. But I'm out of here. Peace.